It's a cold one out there tonight.
Good day, Howard.
Evening, old chap. Just the regular for me, please.
Absolutely, sir. Here you are.
Thank you.
Your Scotch 32.
Scotch 32. Sounds rather good. Give me one of them, please.
Sir, one glass is 50 crowns.
50 crowns for one glass. There you are. Put me down for two in case I'm still thirsty.
Honestly, this man should have nothing else to drink tonight.
Looks good to me.
Hello, I'm Charles Bumberton IV. You can call me Charlie. Everybody does. I mean, the boys made it big in the mines.
Your Scotch.
Thank you, sir. We've been all out all night celebrating. They still at the Harlot House, wetting their willies, if you know what I mean. Oh, are you reading Great Expectations? I absolutely love Great Expectations. My favourite story.
You can read.
Me. Reading is my favourite pastime. I started gambling and smoking and women, of course.
And drinking.
Okay, it's not the point, alright? I love to read. I swear on my mum's grave.
What is your favorite part?
My about Great Expectation, and I'll be honest, alright? I'll be honest. My reading experience isn't as robust as
Really?
some. Shut up, okay? I'm sorry, my reading experience isn't up to standard, but from what I can tell, this is the perfect story. That I am confident about.
Although Charlie here is no scholar, his statement on Great Expectations having everything is absolutely correct. When Great Expectations was written, there were 5 main types of stories. They were the Silver Fork novel, which had huge stories about the rich and high class, the Newgate novel, which were about jail and crime, the Gothic novel, which was like a modern-day horror story, the Romantic novel, which was about love stories, and finally the Social Purpose novel, which was a story written about social issues of the time. Dickens wanted his story to appeal to as many as possible, so he used elements from each of these genres in his book. An example of this is Pip becoming a gentleman in relation to the Silver Fork novel, the lawyers, criminals, and jails for the Newgate appeal, and the whole Sadist House arc for his Gothic readers. Pip's admiration for Estella goes for the romantic genre, and the novel had multiple social class references throughout the book. Incorporating all these aspects in the story is a huge part of what made it so successful.
What's your favourite part of the story?
My goodness, you smell incredibly horrendous.
Thank you, sir.
But, if you really must know, I really appreciate the way there is a distinction between the social classes. You know, the way it's supposed to be.
Ah, yes, the social class distinction, one of my favourite aspects of the story.
Although Howard is only mocking Charlie, his comment on social classes in the story is almost identical to the way social classes were at the time. In the Victorian era, society was strictly layered, not only into rich and poor, or even upper, middle, and lower classes, but hundreds of grades. People were expected to know their place, and the church taught them to be content in their station. Dickens did not like the effect of social classes, and this was clearly shown in Pip's attitude towards his social class standing.
What part are you at anyways?
I'm at the part where the annoying drunk gets punched in the face by the man he's pissing off.
You know, I don't really remember that part, but I remember the last part that I read was the one with Pip in it.
You don't say. That one?
Yeah, it was really good, wasn't it? I mean, you know, me and Pip actually have a lot of similarities, don't you think so?
Basically identical.
I know. Alright. Stay with me, alright? But what if, okay? Just stay with me. What if I, Charles Bumpton IV, was the inspiration for Pip? Now, I know it's a bit of a long shot, but hear me out. Are you ready? What if Charles Dickens has been following me, just a lowly commoner around, just everywhere I go, and taking note of all my complex mannerisms and everything, and he's been using it as an idea for Pip. What if, stay with me, what if I was Pip?
By now, it is quite obvious that Charlie is a complete imbecile, but he still is right about Pip having a direct inspiration from Dickens' time, although Charlie isn't that inspiration. Instead, Pip mirrors Dickens himself, and many other characters reflect Dickens' own life. Magwitch, for example, is a kind man, but he was convicted as a criminal and is a fugitive of the law. Dickens' father was no criminal, but he was in debtor's prison, even though he didn't really belong in prison. Another example is Pip's love life, more specifically how he gets rejected by Estella. In 1830, Charles Dickens falls in love with a woman named Ellen Beadnell. Coincidence? No. He also fell in love with a woman named Ellen Ternan, who was 25 years younger than he was. In the story, 23-year-old Biddy marries and has children with 40-year-old Joe. In fact, many of his stories are influenced by his own life and his own feelings.
You know, as charming as the story Great Expectations is, it is a bit of a bore to read, I'll be honest. I mean, it keeps going on and on and on, you know what I mean?
Please stop touching me.
I think the details will make the story interesting.
Sure, they make it interesting, but you don't need 3 chapters solely for the decor of Sadie's house. I mean, it's completely ridiculous.
Do you think you could do any better?
Well, not to hold my own tutu or anything, but yeah, I do think I could do better.
And what exactly would you change about the story then?
Well, for starters, I wouldn't use such big words. I am not fond of words that have so many letters I can't even count them, and there are way too many of those in the stories. Next, I would trim down the outrageously long listings he has, and third, probably touch up on the over-exaggeration, and finally, definitely, fix the bloody ending.
And what's wrong with the ending?
What's wrong with the ending? Pip spends 20 or 30 years at chasing after Bay, and he still doesn't get her in the end. You spend 20 or 30 years after a woman, she should give herself up on principle. It's completely ridiculous.
He does have a point.
No, he doesn't.
Hey, yo, Charlie!
Sorry, boys. I gotta go. It's been grand.
Well, that was interesting.
Quite the character, isn't he?
All I know is he spoiled the ending for me.
Unfortunately for Charlie, the things that he listed that he would change in his book is actually what Dickens would later become famous for. His exaggeration, detail, vocabulary, and double ending in Great Expectations is well known throughout the literary world. Just like many other facets of the book, these parts of his writing were influenced by his own life and experiences. His eye for detail most likely came from his time as a newspaper reporter, and his long lists and repetition most likely came from the 10-column requirement for each installment of Great Expectations. Dickens was also a fan of exotic and fancy-sounding words, and his vocabulary in Great Expectations often reflected that. At the end of the day, Great Expectations is as much of a story of Dickens as it was of Pip.